Welcome to Guilty Pleasure Stories channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. My life. My life looks perfect from the outside. A good husband, a beautiful home, a career that keeps me busy, 13 years of marriage to a man who cherished me more than I ever thought anyone could. His name is Harvey Henderson. He's kind, thoughtful, steady. You'd like him if you met him. Most people do. But there's a silence between us, one that has grown louder with every passing year. We don't fight, we don't yell. We don't have those dramatic moments you see in movies, where plates are thrown and doors slam instead. We have a quiet affection, a partnership built on respect and understanding. Or maybe it's more like endurance. Harvey loves me in his way and I love him in mine. I know that sounds strange, maybe even sad, but I can't deny the truth of it. We've built a life together, a good life, a life I don't want to lose, yet there's a part of me, a part I've tried to bury that feels like it's withering away. It's been 10 years since we've had x 10 years. I was 29 when we stopped 29. Do you know what it feels like to close your eyes at night and know that kind of intimacy is gone, to lie next to someone you adore but feel a gap so wide between you? It's almost unbearable. We talked about it once, years ago. Harvey looked at me with those sad, patient eyes of his, and Sadie, I'm sorry. I just can't, and that was it. He told me I was everything to him, that no one could love me the way he did. He wasn't wrong. He's always been there for me in every way but this one, he said. If I left, I might find passion somewhere else, but I'd never find love like his again, and I believed him. I told myself it didn't matter, that affection was enough, that having someone who'd hold my hand in the darkest moments was more important than anything physical, and for a while that was true. But lately it feels like a lie. I've been telling myself just to keep going. Last week we went on a family vacation to Mykonos. It was Harvey's idea, a chance to celebrate his brother-in-law Arthur's 40th birthday. The villa was breathtaking, perched on a cliff overlooking the Aegean Sea. Harvey's parents were there, his sister Lily and her husband Arthur. We laughed, we ate. We toasted Arthur's milestone with glasses of wine under the Greek stars. It should have been perfect. I should have felt lucky to be there, surrounded by people who care about me. But I felt hollow, the kind of hollow that no view, no sunset, no amount of laughter can fill. Harvey was his usual self, doting and gentle but distant in ways he probably didn't even realize. Lily was her cheerful, bubbly self, and Arthur was different. He's always had a certain charm, a way of making you feel like you're the only person in the room. When he talks to you that night, he noticed something in me that no one else did. Or maybe he's just the only one who dared to say it out loud. I keep going over it in my head, trying to pinpoint the exact moment everything started to unravel. Was it when we were sitting at the table, and our eyes met for just a little too long? Was it the way he asked how I was doing, really doing like he actually wanted to know, or was it later when the others had gone to bed, and we stayed up talking under the stars? I don't know. All I know is that something shifted that night and I couldn't stop it. I should have stopped it. I should have gotten up, gone to my room and locked the door. But I didn't. And now I don't know how to live with what I've done. Arthur has been part of the family for as long as I can remember. He married Lily when they were just kids, practically 20 years together. The children and a life that on the surface seems picture perfect. They just bought a house, a beautiful home with a big yard where their kids can play. It's the kind of life people dream about, but dreams are fragile. Arthur and Lily, they've had their struggles. Everyone does. Money is tight for them. They're not in a position to split up, not without losing everything. They've worked so hard to build, and Lily, she adores him. She always has if she ever found out. God, I can't even finish that thought. I can't imagine the pain it would cause her or their kids, and yet knowing all of that didn't stop me. It started so innocently. At least that's what I tell myself to make it seem less awful. Arthur was just being kind, asking how I was doing, paying attention in a way that felt different. He's always had a way of making people feel at ease, like you can tell him anything and he'll never judge you for it. But this time it wasn't just kindness. There was something else in his eyes, something that made my heart race and my stomach twist. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was imagining things, reading too much into a casual glance, a friendly gesture. But deep down I knew I wasn't imagining anything. During the vacation, Harvey was his usual self, distant in ways I've grown accustomed to. He spent most of his time with his parents, helping them plan excursions, taking care of the little details like he always does. He wasn't neglectful exactly, but he wasn't present either in Arthur. Arthur noticed he saw the cracks in the facade. I'd been trying so hard to hold together. There was a moment, just a small one, that I keep replaying in my mind. We were sitting by the pool. One afternoon, the kids were splashing around. Lily was chatting with Harvey's mom, and Arthur and I were on opposite sides of the table. I was staring out at the water, lost in my thoughts when he said, "You okay, Calliope?" It was such a simple question, but the way he asked it, it wasn't like how people ask. When they're just being polite, he really meant it. I looked at him, and for a second I forgot how to speak. There was something in his expression, a mix of curiosity and concern that made me feel exposed, like he could see right through me. "I'm fine," I said, forcing a smile, but he didn't let it go. "Are you sure?" He asked, his voice softer. "This time you seem, I don't know, tired." I wanted to tell him everything in that moment. I wanted to say, "No, I'm not okay. I'm lonely and I feel invisible. And I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending everything's fine," but I didn't. I just nodded and said I'm fine. And then he smiled at me. Not the kind of smile people give out of obligation, but a real one. Warm understanding, like he knew exactly what I wasn't saying. That's when it started. It wasn't anything overt. Just small moments, a shared laugh, a lingering glance, the way his hand brushed against mine. When he passed me a drink, they were nothing, and yet they felt like everything. There was another night not long after that, when everyone had gone to bed except the three of us. We sat outside under the stars, the sound of the waves filling the silence between us. We talked about nothing and everything. He told me about the stress he's been under at work, the pressure of trying to provide for his family, the fights he and Lily have been having about money. And I told him more than I should have. I told him about Harvey, about how much I love him, but how lonely I feel, how it's been 10 years since we've been intimate, how sometimes late at night I lie awake, wondering if this is all my life will ever be. Arthur listened. He didn't interrupt or try to fix anything. He just listened. And when I looked at him, I saw something in his eyes that I hadn't seen in a long time. Desire. I should have walked away. Then I should have said good night and gone to bed, but I didn't. I stayed, and now I can't undo what's been done. If you've made it this far into the story, thank you. Your support means everything. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories like this one. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might find it meaningful. Your engagement helps us bring you more content that matters. The night of the celebration was magical in a way I hadn't expected. The villa was alive with laughter and music. The stars were out, scattered across the night sky like glitter on black velvet. Arthur was in his element, the center of attention, cracking jokes and making everyone laugh. I watched him from across the table, my wine glass poised in front of me like a shield. Harvey sat beside me, his hand resting lightly on my arm. He was happy that night, caught up in the joy of celebrating his brother-in-law. He didn't notice the way my eyes kept drifting to Arthur, the way I smiled a little too much at his jokes, or the warmth that spread through me every time our gazes met. As the night wore on, people began to drift away. The children went to bed first, followed by Harvey's parents. Lily said goodnight not long after, pressing a soft K***s to Arthur's cheek before heading to their room. Harvey, ever the night owl, stayed up a bit longer, chatting with Arthur and me about memories from their childhood. But even he eventually excused himself, leaving the three of us alone. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. We sat there for a while. The three of us. The sound of the waves crashing against the cliffs below. Arthur poured us another round of wine. His movements unhurried, almost deliberate. "You know," he said, breaking the silence, "this has been one of the best birthdays I've ever had, and I think I have you to thank for that." I laughed softly, shaking my head. "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything, you did." He insisted, his voice warm, his eyes fixed on mine. "You've been, I don't know, different. You've made this trip feel special." Somehow his words caught me off guard. I wasn't used to being noticed like that, to having someone look at me as though I was more than just Harvey's wife, more than just a background character in someone else's story. "I think you're giving me too much credit," I said, trying to deflect, but Arthur didn't let it go. He leaned forward slightly, his elbows resting on the table, his gaze steady. "Calliope, you're amazing. I don't know if anyone's told you that lately, but you are. And I'm sorry if it doesn't feel like people see you that way. I do. I felt my breath hitch, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it for a moment. I didn't know what to say. I could have stopped it, then I should have, but I didn't. Instead, I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw the same loneliness I'd been carrying inside me, reflected in his eyes. It was like standing in front of a mirror and realizing for the first time just how broken you really are. He reached out then, his hand brushing against mine, and I didn't pull away. Calliope, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. If this is too much, tell me to stop. I should have said it. I should have gotten up, walked away, done anything but what I did next. But I didn't. Instead, I leaned in, closing the space between us until our lips met. It wasn't planned, it wasn't logical. It was a collision of need and longing and pain, a moment that felt both inevitable and impossible. All at once, the K***s deepened, and before I knew it we were inside the villa, dark and quiet around us. My mind screamed at me to stop, to think about Harvey, Lily, the kids. But my body didn't listen. My hands found his face, his shoulders, his T as though they had a mind of their own. Every touch felt electric, every moment more intense than the last. It wasn't just about desire. It was about feeling alive, about being seen, about escaping the emptiness that had been my constant companion for so long. We ended up in one of the guest rooms, the door closing softly behind us. The weight of what we were doing pressed down on me, but I couldn't bring myself to stop. I don't know if we should do this, I whispered, my voice trembling. Arthur looked at me, his expression a mixture of guilt and longing. I don't either, he said. But I can't pretend I don't want to, and that was it. There were no more words, only actions, close discarded in a haze of desperation, hands and mouths exploring territory that should have been forbidden. Afterward, we lay there in silence, the reality of what we'd done sinking in my T felt tight, my mind racing with 800 thoughts. I'm sorry, I said. Finally, my voice barely audible. Arthur turned to look at me, his face shadowed in the dim light. So am I, he said. And then we did it again, twice in one night, twice too many. And now I don't know how to face the people I've hurt, the people I love. I don't know how to face myself. When I woke up the next morning, the sunlight streaming through the window felt cruel, almost mocking the reality of what I'd done. Hit me all at once like a tidal wave, pulling me under. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the events of the night before replaying in my mind, like some horrible vivid dream I couldn't wake up from. My first thought was Harvey's sweet patient Harvey, who was probably up by now making coffee for everyone like he always does on these trips. How could I face him? How could I sit across from him at breakfast knowing what I'd done? And Lily. God, Lily, she trusts me. She's always trusted me. She shared her secrets with me, confided in me about her fears, her worries about Arthur. And now I'd become the very thing she was afraid of. I felt sick. My stomach churned, and I thought I might throw up right there in that unfamiliar bed. But I didn't. I forced myself to get up, to shower, to put on the mask I'd need to wear for the rest of the trip. When I walked into the kitchen, Harvey smiled at me, his face lighting up in that familiar way that used to make me feel safe now. It just made me feel like the worst person alive. Morning, Callie, he said, handing me a cup of coffee. I mumbled something back, avoiding his eyes. I could feel Arthur's presence across the room, though I didn't dare look at him. I couldn't. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Every moment felt like I was walking on a tightrope, one wrong step away from everything coming crashing down. I avoided being alone with Arthur, avoided Lily's questions about why I seemed so quiet, avoided Harvey's gentle attempts to make me laugh. But the worst part wasn't the fear of being found out. It was the guilt, the way it gnawed at me, hollowing me out from the inside. Every time Harvey touched my hand or smiled at me, it felt like a slap across the face. Every time Lily laughed or told me how glad she was that we'd all come on this trip, it was like a knife twisting in my gut. I started to imagine what would happen if the truth came out. Harvey would be devastated. He's never been good at hiding his emotions, and I knew this would break him in a way nothing else ever had. In Lily, I don't even want to think about what it would do to her or to their kids. So I made a decision. I'd leave. I'd ask for a divorce. I wouldn't tell Harvey why I couldn't. I'd let him think it was my fault that I'd fallen out of love or wanted something else. anything but the truth. But even that felt wrong. Harvey deserves better than that. He deserves better than me. I've been replaying the conversation in my head, imagining how it would go. I'd sit him down, tell him I wasn't happy, that I thought it was best for both of us. If we went our separate ways, he'd ask why. Of course he would, and I'd lie. I'd say it wasn't him, that I needed time to figure myself out, that I'd always love him but couldn't stay. And then there's the other part of me, the selfish part that wonders if I could just keep this a secret, pretend it never happened. Go back to my life, my marriage, my routine. But I can't even look at myself in the mirror, let alone look him in the eyes. I've thought about telling someone, anyone, just to get it off my ***T. But who could I possibly trust with this? Lily, no. Harvey, absolutely not. My mother, she'd never understand. So I'm here trapped in my own mind, seeking advice from strangers, because I don't know what else to do. Do I leave and spare them the pain of knowing the truth? Or do I stay and live with this guilt, hoping it doesn't destroy me? I don't know how to move forward. Every path feels like the wrong one. And the worst part, one, know that no matter what I do, someone will get hurt. It's getting harder to hold it together. Lily keeps asking if I'm okay. She says I seem off, like something's bothering me. I brush it off, tell her I'm just tired, that it's nothing. But I can see the worry in her eyes, and Arthur, he's avoiding me. I thought that would make it easier, but it doesn't. Every time I walk into a room and see him glance away, it's like another reminder of what we did. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Lily to find a text or overhear something. She shouldn't, for Arthur to slip up and say something that gives us away. The other day, Harvey mentioned how happy he is to have me in his life. He said he couldn't imagine spending his days with anyone else. I had to leave the room before I burst into tears. I've created a mess. I can't clean up, and now I'm just trying to figure out how to survive it. But deep down I know I might not deserve to. So now I'm standing at a crossroads, staring down the paths, and I don't know which one to take. If I stay, I'll carry this guilt with me for the rest of my life. Every time Harvey looks at me, smiles at me, holds my hand, I'll feel it, the weight of what I've done pressing down on me. And every time Lily calls me her sister-in-law, her friend, I'll feel like a fraud. But if I leave, if I walk away from everything we've built together without telling him, why is that any better? Harvey will wonder for the rest of his life. What went wrong? He'll blame himself, and he doesn't deserve that. None of them do. I've learned something about myself. Through all of this, I've learned that love isn't enough, not always. Sometimes the person who loves you the most still can't give you everything you need. And sometimes the thing you need most comes at a cost you can't bear to pay. So here I am asking you, what would you do? Would you tell the truth and risk tearing everything apart? Or would you leave quietly and try to spare them the pain? If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us craft more engaging stories for you.